You might be wondering what that 9-digit number is with a hyphen in between the first two numbers. That is your employer identification number, also known as your EIN. An EIN, or an employee ID number, is your federal tax ID for your business. Think of it like a social security number for your business. You have a social security number as a person. Your business also needs a social security number. However, it's not called a social security number when it comes to a business. It's called an EIN. EINs typically look like this. Sometimes an EIN is also referred to as a TIN, which stands for Taxpayer Identification Number. Sometimes it will be referred to as an FEIN, which stands for Federal Employer Identification Number. And sometimes it even stands for FTIN, which is Federal Tax Identification Number. Think of an EIN as a social security number for your business. Every business needs one. Every person needs a social security number. Every business needs a social security number. So if you have multiple LLCs, each LLC needs its own EIN. Let's talk about the benefits of an EIN and why you would need one. Your business needs an EIN to do the following: to file taxes, open a bank account, build credit, apply for a reseller's permit, apply for a wholesaler's permit, apply for a business license, to get credit card processing, to get Amazon reselling set up, to get bank loans, to prove that your business is real. There's so many things that you need an EIN for that it's mandatory that you get one right away. But we're gonna talk about that in a minute. Getting an EIN isn't a requirement for every single business. But even if it isn't a requirement, it's still a really good idea. So let's talk about who needs an EIN. The IRS says that you need your own EIN if you can answer yes to any of the following questions. Do you have employees? Do you operate your business as a corporation or a partnership? Let me just throw this out there for you. If you go into business with somebody informally, say for example, you have someone buy a car and you do the fixing up and the selling, but they put up the money and buy the car and you guys split the profits, that's a partnership. So if you guys are doing that together, the government says that you need an EIN. Just throwing it out there. Third question, do you file any of these tax returns? Employment, excise, alcohol, tobacco, or firearms? Most of us file employment tax returns. Therefore, most of us are going to need an EIN. Question number 4, do you withhold taxes on income other than wages paid to a non-resident alien? For most people, this is going to be no. However, if that's you, you need to get an EIN. Do you have a co-plan? Kyo plan? I don't really know how to say it, but I do know what that is. A Kyo plan or a Kyof plan, however you say it, very similar to a SEP IRA or a self-employed retirement account. So question number 6 asks if you're involved with any of the following organizations: trusts, except the individual grantor, owned revocable trusts, IRAs, exempt organization businesses, income tax returns, estates, real estate mortgage investment conduits, nonprofit organizations, farmers and cooperatives, plan administrators. So if you're involved in any of these organizations, you need to get an EIN. Bottom line. Let me make it really, really simple for you guys. If you're gonna start a business or you're thinking about doing a side hustle, anything at all, get an EIN. Even if you're just a sole proprietor, you can get an EIN with your social security number and do business as a business. So here's how you get an EIN number. Before you apply for an EIN, you wanna first establish your business with the state. This means that you need to form an LLC first, then apply for your EIN. So we're gonna assume that you've already gone onto your Secretary of State website. You've already filed your articles of organization, which is what you need in order to form an LLC. You've taken a note of when you formed that company, and now we're gonna go get our EIN. Side note, you can get an EIN at any time during the process. You don't have to have an LLC first. However, it's best that you do have an LLC first because you do not want to tie an EIN to a name that is not available. So, I recommend that you first file for your LLC with the Secretary of State and then go apply for your EIN number. Once you're certain that you can have the name that you really want, EIN comes second. So let's say that you're at that point. You're ready to get an EIN. Let's get into it. We need to make sure that we go to the IRS website and follow the steps in order. There's a lot of websites out there that will do the exact same thing for you, but they're gonna charge you money. So if you have to pull out your credit card or your checkbook at any time during this process, you are on the wrong website. EINs are completely free. Let's start the application. So in case you want to follow along with my blog, it matches up with this video. You can find it on my website. That's my website right there. Click on the link in the description or just hit the description and follow along and read along with us. We're gonna get your EIN right now. So this is what the website should look like. Pretty standard government website. Let's figure out what we need to do. So we determined our eligibility. We've already talked about who needs an EIN, and we've understood that we need one. We need to know that we have to do the online application. Session will time out after 15 minutes, so make sure that you get it all done. Then we need to submit our application. So if there's anything that you still don't understand about EINs, you can click on any of these publications and read further. But I promise I covered the meat and potatoes for you. Let's click on apply now and see what happens. All right, now we're at the next page. This is where we begin the application within the EIN assistant. Begin application. So here's where we choose our identity. Most people are going to pick sole proprietor or limited liability company. I'm a big fan of limited liability company. I rarely would do anything else because these LLCs have so many benefits. Not to mention, you can get them taxed like a corporation if you want to. So we're going to choose LLC. If you don't have a company set up and you want to form an EIN as a sole proprietor, you would choose this option. Let's go with LLC today. The next screen talks a little bit about LLCs and the requirements for LLCs. Just know that if you set it up correctly, you're good. Okay, so this is where you say how many members are in the LLC. Typically it's going to be one. I highly recommend it be one. Manager-managed LLCs are the most secure. And then we choose the territory where the LLC exists. We're just going to go into California right here. If you look at this next page, it tells you that since you're a single member LLC, you'll initially be classified as a disregarded entity for the purposes of filing a tax return. That's okay. No big deal. That just means that the money that your business makes is going to go directly onto your individual tax return in the form of a Schedule C. Now, if that's something that you don't want to do and you want to elect to change your status, you can file any of these forms right here. The government's not trying to hide this information from you. They just don't make it really easy to understand. Let's go to the next page. So here's where you're going to choose the reason that best describes why you're applying for an EIN. Started a new business or banking purposes are the two most common. Either one's going to work. Just choose whatever applies to you. And we're going to go next. The rest of this form is really easy. Simply put in your name of the responsible party of the LLC. So if you have more than one member of the LLC and say there's two people and you're 50-50, choose one person to file the IRS records and get the EIN. It's not that big of a deal. It doesn't matter that much. So put in the person who's going to get the EIN under Authenticate. After we continue, we're going to get to the Addresses tab, and that's where you'll put the address in of the actual LLC and where it resides. Not where the LLC is going to be doing business, not where you live, but where the LLC resides, the state that the LLC is formed in. Okay, where is the LLC physically located? Very important. Let's type in the address where 123 Main Street, California, 91709. This is phone number. Put your phone number in. Is your address different from above? No. Hit continue. Okay, this is the important part. When you get to details, they're going to ask you to tell them about the LLC. You want to put in the legal name of the LLC, and it has to match the articles of organization. So you've already filed your paperwork to become an LLC, right? So you need to make sure that you use the exact same name. You want to tie this EIN to that LLC. So when you're typing in the name, let's say it's Joe's Barber, you're going to type it in just like this. You do not want to put the LLC at the end. LTD, LLP, any of that. We don't need. Simply Joe's Barber. Now, if you're doing business with a different name, you're going to put in your trade name or your DBA, which you want to do business as. Here, you're going to put in the county where the LLC is located. Here, you're going to put in the state that the LLC is located in and the state where the articles of organization are filed. Notice how there's two boxes here. Typically, those two answers are different. And then lastly, we're going to put in the LLC start date. So this is the day that you formed and filed your articles of organization. Once you've completed this whole form, you're done and you're about to get your EIN. So now that you have your EIN, you can do a couple things. And one of the things that I recommend you do right away is you take that EIN, you take your articles of organization from the LLC that you formed, and you go open up a business bank account. That is the most important thing you can do for your business. You really, really want to stress keeping your personal assets and your business assets completely separate. We do not want to commingle funds. It's bad business. So let's set a good foundation for our business. Open up a separate bank account, make sure our LLC is formed properly, get that EIN, and now we have a foundation that we can springboard off of and really grow this business. Once you have your foundation set up and you have your business money and your personal money separate, then we can start moving on to the other things, like putting together an operating agreement, which states how your business runs on a day-to-day basis. Just remember, you got this. If I can do it, you can do it. Let's take this one step at a time. Let's keep asking questions, educate yourself, and be good to future you. Be sure to follow me on my other channels for more content like this. And if you got any value out of this video, do me a favor and hit the like button so we can tell the YouTube algorithm that there's good content here. Maybe somebody else needs to know how to get an EIN. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. Be good to future you, and I'll catch you on the next one. This is gonna be a fun one.